live?
We're live.
It's elk season, baby. Get your calls, get your tag, get your bow. We just finished, let's see. We got back from Nevada deer, went to New Mexico, filmed the sweepstakes pronghorn hunt, and then we went to Nevada. We just got back last night. Went and filmed our buddy on another pronghorn hunt. And we are excited now. It's elk season. So thanks for tuning in. I think we're on episode 16 of Elk Talk Live Q&A, brought to you by Bowtech, brought to you by Leupold, onXmaps, or onXhunt now, Ripcord, Tightspot, Black Gold, and I hope I'm not forgetting anybody. Oh, Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation. So here you're seeing me sitting here today. And what I got going on is we're down to one production guy today and me, because our other production guy is up in these mountains elk hunting with his wife. We always give everybody a week off in elk season. So I've got my laptop and I'm going to be answering questions or picking your questions. Michael's going to be picking your questions. And we got a lot of stuff to give away tonight. And here's how it's going to work. Hopefully you're signed up to be notified of this stuff. And the way you sign up is you text Randy, R-A-N-D-Y, to 313131. And if you're in Canada, the number is 393939. Leupold right here sent us their carbon fiber Pro Gear trekking poles. After we're all done tonight, we're going to pick someone's question, and Leupold's going to send somebody that. The folks at onXmaps want to give away 5 Elite app memberships tonight. So you're going to want to be asking questions tonight. I mean, it is elk season. So what else are we going to do? I mean, this is it. This is the rut. I'm on my Facebook feed and there's all my buddies. Yeah, I got this bull. Yeah, I got that bull. And I've been out antelope hunting. But next week we're going to start elk hunting, and we're going to elk hunt next week all the way until the 20th of October. And then we're taking a week off to go moose hunting and another week for deer hunting. But then by late November, we're going to be back after the elk. So go out and do it. This is the time of year we live for if you're an elk hunter. If there's anything more fun than running around the woods with your call, your bugle, your bow, I don't know what it is. Shoot me a message and tell me what is more fun, because I don't really know. So let's see. Where do we want to start? Michael, you got anything?
Yep.
Okay.
Hey, Randy. I go tomorrow for my 10-day elk hunt, looking for tips on hot weather hunting and sitting on water.
Yeah. Okay. Someone is going on their elk hunt starting tomorrow, 10-day elk hunt, looking for tips about hunting hot weather, particularly on water. And I think we covered this on a couple episodes, but when it's hot like this, and right now in Montana, it is scorching hot. It hasn't rained for so long. And what we got here is fires. It's crazy how bad it is right now. And it's definitely going to impact when it's this dry and this hot, where the elk are going to be, because they do need water this time of year. So if I was you, I'd go find a reliable water source. And by reliable, I mean it's not going to dry up in the middle of your hunt. I would go and I'd hunt somewhere near that most of my time during the day, from morning till dark. But in the heat of the day, when they went to bed, I would get between the bull's bed with his cows up here somewhere and his water source down here. Because somewhere in the middle of the day, especially on hot days when the rut is hard, they're going to leave those cows and silently come down and water and be right there and ambush him. Some of the biggest bulls I know, when I ask people, how'd you kill that thing? Oh, well, middle of the day, 2 o'clock, I was just sitting over some water, kind of taking a nap, and I heard some limbs popping and some hoof beats, and I sat up, and there's a bull out in the middle of the drink there, and I shot him. You would be surprised how many elk get killed in that manner over water in hot days in the middle of the rut. So, all right, what do we got?
What power scope do you prefer for a second or third rifle season elk hunt?
Okay, what power of scope? I'm assuming you mean rifle scope.
Yeah.
For me, most of my scopes are Leupold's VX6 or VX5. And if it's a VX6, I use 2 to 12s a lot of times, or I have a couple that are 3 to 18. On my VX5s, the new ones I have are 3 to 15s. So the beauty of them is you can, because if there's one way out there where I really need the high magnification, the top end of the magnification, I'm usually going to have plenty of time to dial that up. So I usually hunt on a lower end of the range. That's how I carry my rifle, and then dial it up as I need it. But you get out anything past a 9-power scope, and you're probably going to be fine for most rifle elk hunting situations I know.
What's your opinion on fold-down decoys for rut hunts?
What's my opinion on folding decoys for rut hunts? I think they work. I have a bunch of them. I can't say that I always use them, but I know guys who just absolutely swear by them, especially solo hunters. And say this is the decoy. What they do is they set the decoy up, they make their cow call or their bull call, and they know the wind is coming. Let's say it's coming this way. They make their call, they know the bull or the bull is out there, and they instantly go downwind of where they just called from. The idea is when the bull comes in, he knows where that sound came from. So he sees the decoy here, but he circles downwind to try wind you. 80–90% of the time when a bull comes in, if you watch, you'll notice he circles downwind because he's trying to use his nose to say, is that the real deal? Well, what a lot of solo guys will do if it's just them, they'll call from here where the decoy is, they'll slide over here 10, 15, 20 yards, or maybe over and out in front a ways. And so when the bull comes in, he's looking at this decoy and he walks right into your shooting lane. And I know a lot of guys who do it. I got to be honest, I don't use them a lot just because it's hard with me and 2 camera guys. We just got too much going on. So.
Do you ever use snowshoes in deep snow?
Do I ever use snowshoes in deep snow? Yeah, I got 3 pairs of them hanging back there on that wall. I usually don't use them when I'm hunting. Usually if the snow is that deep, the elk are usually pushed out of there. Not saying there aren't times when you wouldn't need it. I do have snowshoes and I've used them before. I usually use them a lot for predator hunting and other stuff in December and January.
Where are you hunting elk this year?
Where am I hunting elk this year? I have elk tags in Montana. That's the beauty of living in some of the states like Montana, Idaho, Colorado, Wyoming. Utah also has it. Oregon has it. I think Washington might even have it. As a resident, you can get a general over-the-counter tag. So I'm going to be hunting out here away from Bozeman, not too far. I'm really busy, so I don't have time to go on a big, long hunt in Montana. And then I have a Wyoming elk tag that is going to be late September. And then I have an Arizona elk tag, which will be early October. And then we're going to help some friends who have elk tags. So we're going to get more than our dose of elk this year. Well, not more. We're going to get our dose of elk. You can't have too much elk. It's that simple.
Do you blind cow call? Do you just cow call while hiking without seeing anything?
Do I blind cow call? In other words, do I walk and hike and cow call without seeing anything? Yeah, I blind call a lot, not just cow calls. I mean, a lot of times I'm calling, I don't know there's an animal there. And when I do cow call, I usually do it through a tube. You get a lot more volume out of it. My mouth is dry, so this probably won't work, but. If you have a really good tube like this Rocky Mountain one, when you cow call, that is going to carry so far, you're going to get a lot of responses. So yeah, I do it cold a lot. I do it in the dark. I do it all day long. If I'm not seeing elk and not hearing them, I got to get them to talk somehow. So I'm calling whenever it's quiet. I got to make some noise to get them to make some noise. So.
Can you let me know what game bags you prefer?
What game bags do I prefer? I got them by the bajillions here. Hold on. I think we've talked about this before. Right here. and here we go. I told them send me some because we plan on killing a lot of elk this year. These ones here are made by Caribou Gear. This is the Elk Magnum pack. I don't get anything for promoting these other than, look at that. This year they put my picture on there. Huh. Ted, I didn't know that. Cool deal, man. Ha. Well, that's what I use. They're synthetic. The reason that I use synthetic ones is they're strong. You use the cheesecloth kind of mesh ones, and you put a boned out hind quarter in there. And if you've ever watched how that mesh opens up because of all that weight, flies can penetrate that and lay their eggs in there. And if you're in a backcountry hunt, that meat is going to have eggs on it, which turn into maggots, which don't really sound that appetizing. So I use synthetic ones. They're reusable. You just wash them, ready to go again. Sturdy, really, really sturdy. So that's why I use them, not because of any reason other than they work. So.
I got a bow question here.
Oh, we got a bow question. What is it, Michael?
Why did you choose the Bowtech Reign 7 over the Reign 6?
Because for me, I like the brace height. I like the extra inch of brace height. And the 7 has that. And for me, I've got more than my share of form issues because of a wrist injury. And I wanted to have as much forgiveness as possible. Some people will say it doesn't really matter. And for me, mentally, it matters. I'm just telling you the truth. For me, it matters. All right, Tub is asking, how heavy is my day pack? I think it's in my truck. Otherwise, I'd grab it. We were antelope hunting in Nevada this week, and even on an antelope hunt, my day pack with water and everything else is probably pushing 20 pounds. I would say when we're elk hunting, it's closer to 25 pounds. That's the pack, everything that's in it. If I have a bow tied to it or I have my gun strapped in the pack, you know, add another anywhere from 4 to 7 pounds for that. So you want to have a good pack if you're carrying a lot of stuff in the hills. And a lot of people say, well, I only use a fanny pack. And I get that if that's what you want to use. I plan on having to pack out an elk every time I leave the truck. So I bring a full collapsible Mystery Ranch Metcalf that flattens down as a day pack, and then when I need it, it expands into this humongous hauler that it can hold more than I can carry. So, but what draw weight do you use or recommend? Right here on this smart bow, for me, it says draw weight is, boy, my eyes are getting bad, right here, 60. And I know people will say, oh, you need 70 or you need more. I've never had a bow that I've had dialed up over 60 pounds, and it works for me. And very, very good arrow, very sharp broadhead, and good placement, and 60 pounds will do you all day long, even for elk. I think every elk, all but one elk I've shot has been a complete pass-through, even with 60 pounds. So. What else we got there?
How do you take care of velvet antlers with the heat?
How do I take care of velvet antlers in the heat? I wish I could tell you that. I don't. I've never shot a bull in the velvet. And people say you can use formaldehyde, you can scrape it all off, and then they put this fake fuzzy kind of stuff on it. If you look at it, it looks like the Santa Claus reindeer you see in the mall. It looks pretty funky. Most people I know inject it with formaldehyde immediately, but I've never had to bother with that. So,
with all the fires, how does the smoke affect elk at a distance?
With all of the fires, and right now in Montana, there any place east of or west of probably Big Timber, same in northern Idaho, actually southern Idaho. We drove through southern Idaho yesterday, parts of Wyoming. It is your visibility here right now is really, really bad. So if you're using a technique that depends on glassing, it's really tough right now. I wouldn't do anything that relies on glassing. Your visibility is really bad. The smoke is so thick over in northern Idaho and western Montana that some of the guys I talked to who hunted this weekend said that they actually were feeling pain in their lungs because of all of the smoke. These are the worst fires since the big burn of 1910. And you have a serious hot summer with no moisture, and that's unfortunately what's going to happen. I try to look on the bright side. Every one of those fires is going to be some fantastic elk habitat at some point in time. I feel terrible for anyone who has injury, loss of life, or loss of property because of it. I don't like to see that for sure. But so fires are just part of the landscape. We got to deal with it. The elk, it's not like the elk quit rutting because there's a fire. They got lives to lead, and they're going to do what they do. So hunters got to do the same thing.
I'm hunting third season in Colorado. Do you suggest doing any calling in third rifle season, which is the first week of November?
Third rifle season in Colorado. I hunt it every time I go to Colorado. Here's what you do with your call if you're going to the third rifle season in Colorado. Throw it over there in the corner. You don't need it. Those are late season bulls. They're not responding to calls. You might call in a hunter, but don't worry about it.
How many coolers do you have in camp for meat storage, and what size?
How many coolers do I have in camp for meat storage? For an elk, if I want an elk, I bring 2 of these 65 quarts, and I've got an 85 quart over there. I usually bring 2 of those. And one of those 85 quarts is jam-packed full of, gosh, you guys are asking good questions today. I got all kinds of stuff. So, see these empty milk jugs right here? Those coolers get filled, this one's empty, but it gets filled with water and frozen. And the reason being is, like right here, this one's full. We just came back from Nevada, and we had that cooler full of them. There's still a little ice in this. We left for Nevada last Friday, and it was hot. So when this starts to melt, you don't get water all over your meat. So the way you do it, the layering is, for me, if you're going to get elk meat in a 65 quart cooler, you're going to have to bone it out. So I bone it out. I make sure it's cool. I let it hang overnight, let the wind blow on it, feel where the big masses of meat are, make sure it's as cool as possible. In the morning, when your cooler is at its coldest temperature, put the meat in there. Then take these and stack them on top of the meat. What does cold do? Cold goes down. If you put this in the bottom, it's possible in a cheap cooler that the temperature difference between the bottom where you put your ice and the top where there is no ice is very, very different. Very high temperatures at the top. You'll spoil that meat on the top. So that's how we do it. We did a whole YouTube video about it. If you go out to our YouTube channel, you'll see how we keep our ice frozen and how we put an animal in a cooler and take care of it in this hot weather like this.
Okay, we have an Ohio archery whitetail hunter that's never been out west.
Okay.
He's going to have enough points in 2 or 3 years to draw a decent Wyoming unit.
Okay.
And he has 10 days to hunt.
Okay.
Should he hunt in the rut with a bow or wait and hunt with a rifle?
Okay. Person's coming from back east. He says Ohio in this instance. He's saving up enough points to come to Wyoming. Wyoming has this unique thing that if you draw a rifle tag, say you draw an October or November rifle tag, in just about all units, not all, but most, you can come and hunt the archery season on that same tag, which is September 1st to the 30th. His question is, if you had 10 days, would you come and hunt the archery season, or would you come and hunt the rifle season? Whew, that's a tough question. And he says he's a whitetail hunter, so most of the whitetail hunters I know from back east, a lot of them are archery hunters. So if you're already an archery hunter, even though the odds are lower in archery season, come in archery season and you are going to have so much fun. The elk are going to be screaming. The other beauty of it is, in the West, a lot of times the public land is the high ground. And what happens is the elk spend the summer up on the high ground, and they stay there till about late September, mid of October. And then as the forage dries up and the hunting pressure comes, they move down to private in the valleys. So you're going to have some chances at those older, mature bulls in archery season that you might not have in rifle season because hunting pressure and weather has pushed them down low, where in a lot of cases that's the private land that access is really expensive or very hard to get. So if I was you, I'd come in September. I'd come probably September 15th through the 25th, something like that. and brace yourself for a ton of fun.
Have you found any good bow slings that work while carrying a pack?
Have I found any good bow slings that work while carrying a pack? I've tried a lot of them. Sitka has a new one that's been working pretty good. I used to use a Primos one, but the problem is I wear a backpack that has a really thick shoulder strap on it, and when that sling sits on top of that strap, it's always sliding off. So you'll see in a lot of our shows, I've got my bow strapped to my Metcalf Mystery Ranch pack in the back. And then I got two hands free and I've got my trekking poles and I'm just going. And some people say, well, what if you run into an elk? I get it. For me, in the time it takes for our cameras to get the tripod set up, get everything ready for them, I'll have that pack off and that bow off and I'll be ready to shoot. If you aren't having to wait on camera guys, maybe you don't want to do it the way I do.
What model Howa do you shoot?
What model Howa do I shoot?
I'm assuming it means for elk.
Yeah, for rifles, I use the Howa Alpine Mountain Rifle just about exclusively. I have a 308, a 7mm08, 6.5 Creedmoor. My elk one is always the 308, but I have a lot of their Model 1500s, and I have that all the way from a 300 Win Mag down to, a 22-250. Every one of them, I have Leupold scopes on them, anything from VX3Is up to VX6s, and every one of them I'm shooting Nosler ammo, Accubons, E-tips, or partitions. Those are my three go-to pieces for rifle hunting. So, what is my favorite animal to hunt? In which state do you hunt it? Whatever animal I have a tag for in whatever state I have a tag. I get asked that a lot. And it would be, if you told me with a bow, it's absolutely no doubt going to be elk. If you ask me with a rifle, boy, it's going to be, it's all equal with a rifle. I really, I can't make a distinction in rifle season. So, what do we got, Michael?
Any blister prevention tips on hunts or on hunts
Yep.
as foot care can be time consuming but crucial for comfort?
Yes, absolutely. There's a lot of things about foot care because if you get a blister, life sucks in a hurry. What I always do, and if you go out to our YouTube channel, you're going to see that we did a whole series on boot care, foot care, everything else. Blisters are usually a function of a poor fitting boot or a bad sock system. And a poor fitting boot is either because you've got too much play in it, and so when you're walking downhill, you've got the heel rubbing, or when you're walking uphill, you got the heel rubbing. Or when you're walking downhill, if you got too much slop in your boot, on your little toe or your big toe, you're getting blisters there. If your boot is too tight, your toes are curled up in there, and you put a heavy pack on, put a bunch of weight on, and now as your feet flatten out from that weight, they're even tighter. And it's just nothing but friction in there. The number one reason you'll get blisters is your boot does not fit properly. The number two reason is because your sock system is not proper. I wear merino wool socks all the time. And I will change socks in the middle of the day if I feel that one of my socks or both my socks are getting moisture due to sweat and perspiration. Or if you don't wear gaiters, a lot of times, you'll be hunting in snow and you look down and the whole bottom part of your pant is soaked because you've got the either wet snow or you've got this warm microclimate right around your leg that when the snow touches that warmer area, it melts and pretty soon you got these big ice crystals. Well, that gets to the top of your sock, and then through adhesion, water molecules adhere to each other and it starts working its way down into your sock. A wet sock is another great way to get blisters. So I take care of it that way. If you got a hot spot, I carry moleskin, and I will cut out a little circle and put, it almost looks like a donut or an oval-shaped donut with protecting that hot spot in there, and I carry a lot of it with me. If you got a multi-day hunt, a blister is going to be miserable. You're not going to be able to hunt nearly as hard as you want to. The other thing, even before you go hunting, do a lot of walking, do a lot of hiking, put loads on. Get your feet ready for that. Your feet are kind of like every other part of your body. If you show up and your feet aren't conditioned to carrying loads, heavy loads during the year, and you show up elk camp and all of a sudden you got 40 pounds on your back, your feet aren't used to that. Make sure you've got your feet conditioned before season starts.
What's your favorite cut of elk meat?
My favorite cut of elk meat, hands down, is the tenderloin. You take them out right under here, and you get a piece of meat about that long and about that big around. And I put that on the grill, and I just very slow, low temperature, take my Dog Day spice rub, put it on there. And as the pieces are getting to the doneness that I want, I'm just slicing them off. And I'm supposed to be putting them on the plate and bringing them in the house to eat, but oftentimes it's hard for me to get the whole tenderloin back in the house because did you see these juices coming off there? If you kill an elk, unless somehow you've messed it up here, you've got a lot of gut and stomach, problems with it on the meat, go in and get those tenderloins. They are remarkable. Yeah, never leave them in the woods.
What power binos do you carry during the elk hunt?
What power binos do I carry? Either 8 or 10 power. Whatever is whatever you have, whatever you're most comfortable with. Most often, not always, but most often, depends on what angle of view that the bino is set up for, and that's a function of how long or how short it is. Oftentimes, all other things being equal, an 8 power will give you a wider field of view than a 10 power in the same length, same size bino. But it's really what you want to use. Either of those, I think, would be just fine.
Do you routinely hunt the same areas for both archery and rifle season?
Do I routinely hunt the same areas for both archery and rifle season? No. And if you go to our YouTube channel and watch our Elk Talk series, we have the 5 periods, the 5 calendar periods we hunt elk. Early season, pre-rut, peak rut, post-rut, and late season. My rifle seasons are going to be post-rut and rifle, or post-rut and late season. My archery ones are going to be pre-rut and peak rut, possibly early season. Elk are going to be in different places in these earlier seasons than they are in these later seasons. They have different needs, so they're going to be in different locations to satisfy those needs. So very seldom am I hunting a place in rifle season that I also hunted in archery season. It's just elk are going to be in different spots at that time, in those different times of year.
How do you manage your camo system at camp, and then in parentheses, scent? Like scent control, I'm assuming.
How do I handle my scent control in camp with my clothes?
Yeah, so, yeah.
So if you're in elk camp and you are hunting this time of year, you're not going to take care of scent through any manner. Your body is going to give out odor because you're going to be hiking, you're going to be mobile, you're going to be chasing elk, it's steep, it's ugly, nasty, you're climbing over deadfalls. You're wasting your time trying to worry about scent control. Because the only time you need scent control is if somehow you get upwind of the elk. Well, if you get upwind of the elk, I don't care what scent control you use, an elk's nose is going to bust you. It's that simple. So I don't even bother with it. But I don't like clothes that stink to high heaven either. So in the middle of a 5-6 day hunt, I'm going to wash my clothes after day 2 and probably after day 4 and let them dry overnight and head off in the hills again in the next morning. But the folly, at least in my opinion, again, I'm sure a bunch of people are going to chime in and say, Newberg, you're a fool. The folly, I think, is that people somehow believe you can use scent control products and that means you don't have to monitor your wind. Wind discipline is what makes or breaks elk hunting. And I don't care if it's rifle hunting or archery hunting, even more so in archery season. So remember, if you want to get in on these drawings, if you want to get notified for how this all works, and when we're going live, text Randy, R-A-N-D-Y, to 313131. And I hope you'll share this with your friends. The number of views we're getting is crazy. I'm looking out on the Bowtech channel, Leupold's channel, onX, Black Gold, Ripcord, Tightspot. It's crazy how many of these questions we're getting. I can't get to them all. But tonight, because we don't just want to talk or give prizes to people whose questions we answer because there's so many of them, tonight, like I said, Leupold gave us these set of carbon fiber trekking poles. They're a Pro Guide version. And then onX is giving away 5 elite memberships. And they're just going to go through all the questions across all the platforms, whether you're on the live stream, whether you're on the Facebook pages, whether you're on your YouTube pages. And they're going to pick 5 of you who had really good questions. And they're going to say, hey, give us your email. You want an elite onX Hunt app membership. So we're rolling right along, Michael. This is working way better with one person. I mean, we did one person before, and it was a train wreck because we hadn't quite sorted this out. But over 16 episodes of doing this, we've been testing the technology and tweaking this and tweaking that, and it's working okay. Caleb Perry wants to know, if you had to pick 7 days to hunt the rut, what dates would you choose? Boy, that's a good question. It'd probably depend upon the state. Here in Montana, I'd probably pick the 10th or 11th through the 17th or 18th. If I was in Colorado, Arizona, I'd probably pick the 15th through the 22nd, something like that. And whatever dates I pick, I would hope that it got cool weather, because hot weather just is tough on elk. You think about what a coat they're wearing. They're already wearing a thick layer of fur, and they have all this activity that happens during the rut. They get overheated if it's hot. So if it's hot, they just head for shade in the day, and most of the activity happens at night. Last year in Montana, we got a snowstorm over Labor Day weekend, and people were just crushing the elk. Why? Because it was cool. They were doing more of their rutting during the daylight hour rather than at night. I don't want to answer this one. You got one, Michael?
I got one for you.
All right.
Next year.
I could get divorced if I answered that one.
Next year, I'm planning on hunting Idaho for elk. How do you go about picking areas to put in for?
The person wants to hunt Idaho elk next year. How do you select areas to put in for? I use a system called Go Hunt Insider, gohunt.com/insider. They analyze every unit you can think of. And in doing so, you can sort it by harvest success rates, the public land versus private land percentages. I look at where is there a good herd that is stable or growing. I like good bull to cow ratios. I like high harvest percentages or better than average harvest percentages. And I want units that, a lot of times, the reason they're easier to draw isn't because the quality of the elk isn't there. It's because there's maybe a little more private land, and it creates a little bit of access challenge. You should be as handy with your GPS and your smartphone app from onX as you are with your bow, as you are with your calls, as you are with your spotting scope. And that's how we draw a lot of our tags. Is these are the places we go aren't units that everybody is applying for. If we did that, we'd draw one tag every 5 years. We have to go and apply for units that are easier draw odds but have those other characteristics I mentioned. And the reason the odds are usually better is because sometimes the access is a challenge. And if that's the case, bring it on.
Hunting elk in hot weather, how do you hunt them? Blind, wallow, or sleep in camp?
What? Do I sleep in camp when they're during the elk in hot weather?
Yeah.
No, you sleep at the water hole. You better not be at camp until the sun has long been down, and you better be out of camp long before the sun comes up. I never go back to camp in the middle of the day unless I plan on, okay, this place was a bust. I'm going to go to camp, grab a bite to eat, and then I'm going to go do an afternoon hunt. If I'm into elk, I'm out there all day long. And if that means the middle of the day I take a nap by the water hole, that's what I do. Where is your favorite place to hunt antelope? Wherever I have a tag. After just this last week, we were in Nevada. My buddy Mike Spitzer shot an 85-inch buck. So Nevada right now is high on my #1 place to hunt antelope. But we're talking elk here. So what do you got there, Michael? You're kind of laughing.
I can't find one right now.
That's why.
You might need to pick one.
All right. If you are a first-time Western hunter and have never used a GPS, should you still have one or rely upon your onX app on your phone? It's whatever you prefer to use, but you should have one or the other. For me, the Hunt app here with onX, what you do is, and a lot of people say, well, I'm not in a place where I have coverage. Well, save your maps offline, save them to your phone, and put your phone on airplane mode. And your GPS is already built into this phone. You do not need coverage to have your smartphone operate as a GPS. So that saves batteries. It allows you to know exactly what you're doing and where you're going without having coverage. So I would say I used to be the traditional GPS guy, but now with all the layers you can get on the Hunt app from onX, I'm becoming more and more of a smartphone app guy. And if you watch this, if you're listening and you buy an app, one of the app products from onX, they're giving all of our viewers a 20% discount. And you get your 20% discount by using promo code RANDY, R-A-N-D-Y. I mean, how simple can we make it? If you want to subscribe, if you want to win prizes and everything, it's Randy, R-A-N-D-Y, to 313131. Or if you go to onX, it's promo code RANDY and save 20%. You got one now, Michael?
Yeah, have you ever hunted elk out of a tree stand?
Have I ever hunted elk out of a tree stand? No, but this morning I'm dropping my Nevada antelope off at the processor here in Bozeman. So we drive all the way home. I take it out there, and here's a guy. He's from Michigan, Saginaw, Michigan, and he's got an elk. And I'm like, wow, how cool is that? I think I was listening to him tell the story. I think he shot it out of a tree stand. And so I got to talking to the guy with him. He's like, oh yeah, a lot of these Midwest guys, we come out west, we hunt out of tree stands, and we know it's not as exciting as running around chasing the bugles, but guess what? We're pretty lucky or pretty consistent in killing elk. So if you're a good tree stand hunter, elk can be pretty patternable in terms of water and travel corridors from bedding areas to feeding and rutting areas. So if you're good at it and you got a place where it works, I would do it. Me, I'm no good at it. I don't ever do it. I'm too impatient. So for me, it's not really much of an option. But if you're good at it, I'd go do it.
What do you use for calculating windage on your longer shots?
I'm assuming that this would mean rifle. If it's really windy in archery season, I'm not taking a long shot. If it's really windy in its rifle season, I'm not taking a long shot if it's really windy. I missed one bull in Arizona because I completely spaced out a 20-mile-an-hour crosswind. Bullet went, choom, he was quartering away, went right in front of him. And yeah, we put that on our YouTube channel. It's out there, you can watch it. It's an Arizona elk hunt. But in most instances, I am not taking direct crosswind shots at normal hunting ranges if I have a really strong crosswind. I will try to get downwind and try to shoot straight upwind, or I'll wait for the wind to die down, or I will try to get closer because let's face it, if you can get under 200 yards, it takes a pretty strong wind to make a major impact to your bullet. So if an elk is standing here, this is his head, and you're at 200 yards and you got a 20-mile-an-hour crosswind, you're not going to have too much of a problem. Your bullet is not going to move that far. And if you doubt it, go download any of the ballistics calculators, and they'll tell you what your wind drift is. You just put in what bullet you're shooting, what cartridge, what your chrono speed is, and it'll tell you what that drift is. You see a lot of guys have that, they call it their dope, right on the side, on the butt plate of their stock. But for me, the shots I take, I'm not a long bomber kind of guy, so it's less of a worry for me.
How old was Matthew when you took him on his first elk hunt?
How old was Matthew, my son, when I took him on his first elk hunt? Oh, I think he was 12. Because Montana, the earliest hunting age is 12. I think he tagged along on a couple just day hunt, afternoon hunts or morning hunts. Nothing super intense, because the last thing I wanted to do was take him out and make it one of me and my buddies climb 5 miles up a mountain kind of hunt. That's going to really make it tough for a kid if they're just tagging along, they're 8 years old. Make it fun for them. And I never took them out when it was 20 below. Never took them out when it was 90 degrees above. I wanted it to be a positive experience, make it something he wanted to do again and again. And as he got older, I mean, he shot some really nice elk because of it.
Is there a rule of thumb to know how long to hang meat in the field?
Is there a rule of thumb to know how long to hang meat in the field? No, there is no rule of thumb. It's a function of temperature. It's a function of moisture. Do you have shade to hang it in? Do you have some place where the wind's going to get to it? If it's really chilly, say it's 30 degrees out, I'll let meat hang for 4 or 5 days. But if it's not really chilly, I'm finding the earliest time I can easily get that meat to a locker, and I'm doing it. So there's really not a rule of thumb. There's too many variables involved.
I love using trekking poles. Do you use one or two?
Peace, brother. I use 2. Trekking poles, if you are not using trekking poles, you're crazy. That's all there is to it. Use at least 1, but preferably 2. And to reiterate that fact, Leupold is giving away a pair of trekking poles to someone tonight. And even if you have a bow and you're carrying a bow, and that's, you know, a lot of people are like, well, I like one pole for my offhand, and I'll carry my bow in the other, and if I get tired, I'll switch. That's great. You know, if you can use 1, it makes a world of difference. I mean, a big difference. Let's see. Have I ever used a slug gun to hunt elk? No, I haven't. Trekking poles always get in the way. Wow. Never have gotten in the way for me. But anyhow. Why no muzzleloader hunts for me? Reason I don't do muzzleloader hunts is I never grew up muzzleloader hunting. I don't know much about it. I do have a muzzleloader. I've shot 1 mule deer and 3 whitetails with a muzzleloader. But for me, I just love archery hunting and I love rifle hunting. So nothing against muzzleloader hunting. Go do it. If that's your thing and you got an opportunity, go do it. All right. What do you got, Michael?
Do you have any hunting gear obsession? Like,
Do I have any hunting gear obsessions? My wife would say if you looked at this 30 by 50 shop full of hunting gear, I have way too many hunting gear obsessions. Boy, that's a good question. The things I'm very, very particular about, everything. I mean, the amount of, Michael's like, yeah. He hears me out in the field because every trip we try to bring something new that is kind of an experiment and test it. And he's heard me a few times already this season. Why did I carry this piece of junk around? I'm sending this back to that guy. But every once in a while, someone sends us something, or a lot of times I'll just go down and buy it because it intrigues me. And I don't want to be beholden to somebody who sent it to me and then feel like, oh, I got to act like it worked. Every once in a while, I'll find a gem. I'm like, whoa, I like this. So, you name it, I'm kind of a junkie about gear anytime, any place. So, is that thing flashing because we're out of battery, Michael?
Yeah, it's
okay.
real close.
All right, folks. It says we're running out of battery. We're going to be here next Wednesday. What's that? The 13th. The 20th, we're going to be in elk camp in Wyoming, and I don't think we're going to be able to do it. So, I don't know what day we're going live that week, but when we get out of elk camp in Wyoming, we will just go live right away and give a report of what happened. And next Wednesday, when we go live, that'll be after our first day of archery elk hunting here in Montana. So if we look all haggard and worn down, it's because we've been packing elk out of the hills here all the time. But anyhow, thanks to Bowtech, thanks to Leupold, thanks to onXmaps, thanks to Tightspot, Ripcord, Black Gold, everybody who's helping us bring this to you. Leave all your questions. Again, when we tune off here and shut it down, we're going to give away the Leupold trekking poles and 5 onX Elite Map memberships. So thanks for watching, everybody. Take care. Da-dun, da-dun, da-dun. Are we done?